Okay. So today we're on Lamed Tes Amud Beis, about 10 lines from the bottom. Amr Rabbi Yanai. There are two charts coming up, so maybe I'll put the Gemara a little bit, but we'll be taking it off and putting the charts on. I think it'll be helpful to be able to juggle. What I have it over here. 1 second. Something went wrong. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this. Okay. So the Gemara is Lamed Tes Amud Beis, about 10 lines. Amr Rabbi Yanai. Aliyah's Gorel with Kalfi Makeves. So the subject we're going to talk about today is if the Gorel is essential. Means it says in the Torah, you're supposed to make a Gorel. The Kohen Gadol makes a Gorel, throws lots on the two goats, and also he's supposed to put it on. It says V'nasan Aaron Ashne Asirim Gorelos. They're supposed to place it on, and they said that's what the Mishnah. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to make the Gorel from the Kalfi. It says the whole way how to do it, and then you put it on. And the discussion is going to be if it's market. Thank you very much. Thank you. The question the Gemara is going to talk about if you didn't do it, is it market? Is it essential? So just as a preview, the anacha for sure is not market. To place it on, even though you're supposed to, if you didn't place it on the animal, surely that's not a question. Everybody agrees the whole time that that's not essential. But the question is the actual agrola to make to designate which is which. By making throwing lots, if you didn't do it like that, you did it differently. You just said this one is the Gorel, this one is the Sorah Lashem, this one is the one that's going to be Lazazel, and you didn't do it with the method of throwing lots. Is that essential or not? So the Gemara starts and it's going to bring a machlokus about that. Amr Rabbi Yanai, Aliyah's Gorel mitok kalpi makeves, anach ein makeves. To make the actual hagrola, to take out the lots from the box. That is ma'akev. If you didn't do that, so then it doesn't take effect. But hanacha lo ma'ena ma'akebes, to place it on the animal, which lachatchili you should have, but if you didn't, that's not essential. Rabbi Yochanan amar afaliyah ena ma'akebes. Rabbi Yochanan is more lenient, and he says, but even if you didn't make the gorel, you just decided by yourself which one you want to be la Hashem, which one to be la Zazel. Also, it takes effect. It's not essential. So I'll just put on a screen a second to say a preview of what's going to happen over here. There's going to be a machlokis between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, and that's a general machlokis. Rabbi Nechemia holds that anything that is done in the Big Day Lavan, the white clothing, the clothing of Yom Kippur, anything that's done in the Big Day Lavan is essential, is ma'akev. And Rabbi Yehuda says only the things that are done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim are ma'akev. The pasuk says you're supposed to do a lot of things. But there's a general rule by Kachim that only if it says it 2 times is it ma'akev. If it only says it 1 time, you're supposed to do it. But if you don't do it, it's not essential. And Rabbi Yehuda says even though it's in Kippur and it says about the white clothing, that doesn't make it essential. Only what it says in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies over there, if you didn't do it, then it's ma'akev. Then it's essential. And the Gemara now is talking about this machlokes we just had between Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan, according to who are they talking. So the chart shows that, I'll just say the words now, then we'll see the Gemara will become clarified more. It could be that Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan are only arguing according to Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Yehuda once again, he says that things that are done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim are not makiv. The Gorel, as we said, it wasn't done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Throwing the lots was not done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It wasn't even done in the Heichal. It was done in the courtyard, in the east of the courtyard. So that's something which is done outside. It was done in the white clothing. The Kohen Gadol was wearing the white clothing already, but it was done outside. So according to the standard machlokus, we should have said that would be matali in the machlokes of Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. Yehuda says since it's outside, it's not makev, it's kosher. The green check means that it's kosher with the Eved. And Rabbi Nechemia would say that since it's done inside, since it's done in the white clothing, so it is makev. So we would have thought, if we would not have had this Gemara, we would have thought that this is a regular machlokes of Yehuda and Nechemia, things that are done outside in the courtyard. It's not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Is it makev or not? But the first version is going to say that Rabbi Yanai is saying that Rabbi Yochanan is saying that even according to Rabbi Nechemia, usually things that are done in the white clothing are ma'akev, but here it's not. Here, even Rabbi Nechemia is going to agree that it's not ma'akev. I hope it's not complicated. If it is, it'll become clarified soon. second version is going to go the opposite. That according to Nechemia, who says that anything in the white clothing is ma'akev, so surely it's ma'akev because the hagrala is done while he's wearing the white clothing. But the machlokes was according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda usually holds that things that are done outside is not ma'akev. So the pashtus will be that it's not ma'akev, it's kosher. But there's a reason why Rabbi might say that here he's also going to agree that it is ma'akev. That's just a preview to what the Gemara is going to say now. So we'll get into the Gemara. If you didn't understand it yet, so it's fine. The Gemara is going to talk better than I did, but I hope that the chart might have helped a little bit. So the Gemara starts. This is the first version. Here starts the first version. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda holds in general that whatever's done outside, even though it's the big Lavan, even though it's the white clothing, the Kohen's garden is wearing the white clothing, but it's done outside. It's not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It's done in the courtyard. So then he holds in general it's not Ma'akev. So then everybody agrees it's not Ma'akev. Kipligi, I'll leave it to Rabbi Nechemia. But they're arguing, the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yana are going according to the Tana of Nechemia, who holds in general that anything that's done in the white clothing is Ma'akev. That's the question. Does he also hold that even the Hagrala is also Ma'akev? Rabbi Nechemia, the one who says it is, that's standard Rabbi Nechemia Shita, that since it's in the white clothing, it should be Ma'akev. But Ma'adam Allah Ma'akva, Animili Avoda, but Hagrala La Avoda. There's a tzad to say, Rabbi Yochanan says that this is not called an avoda b'chlal. It's true. Rabbi Nechemia holds every avoda that's done in the white clothing, even though it's done outside, it's ma'akev. But this is not an avoda. Just to make hagrola is not considered an avoda, and therefore it's not ma'akev. Just to see the chart a second, if it helps anybody on that, that this is the first version, that Rabbi Yehuda usually holds that anything done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim is not ma'akev. So everybody agrees it's not ma'akev because it's outside. The question was according to Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Nechemia usually holds anything done in the white clothing is ma'akev, even though it's outside, and therefore it should be ma'akev. And that's what Rabbi Yana holds. Rabbi Yochanan is the chiddush. She says even according to Rabbi Nechemia, this is not called an avoda, so therefore it's not ma'akev. Now we're going to go on the second lashon. Now there's going to be a ikadamri. The Gemara continues ikadamri. This is now there's 5 lines from the bottom. Ikadamri, the opposite. Nechemia is the one who holds anything down the white clothing is ma'akev. It's essential, yes. So it's in the white clothing, it's ma'akev, and nothing to talk about. What is the machlokes of Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai? Yehuda is usually lenient, and he says that if it's done outside, it's not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so it's not essential. And here it's outside. It's done in the courtyard. The hagrala is done outside in the courtyard. So the pashas will be according to Yehuda. It's not ma'akev. Mandam lo ma'akev Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan who said that it's not ma'akev. That's the standard of Yehuda that is done outside, so it's not ma'akev. But mandam ma'akev Rabbi Yana, you said that it's ma'akev even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Shani yachad detana beikra. Here it's different because the pasuk repeated itself. The word detana is Aramaic for shana, like sheni, that it said it a second time. The fact that the pasuk repeats itself, like it says, Asher Allah, Trey Zimni. The pasuk says, Sa'ir Asher Allah, Allah Hagaral Hashem, Sa'ir Asher Allah Hagaral Azazel. It says the word Asher Allah twice. That it talks about the Goral 2 times, and that's a regular rule in Kachim. If it says something twice, it is ma'akev. So you're right. As far as the word that the chukah, that's the word that in general they talk about the Nechemia and Rabbi Yehuda, if that's ma'akev on the whole of all the Yom Kippur. So Rabbi Yehuda says only the things that are done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim does that rule apply to. Here it's outside. But this specific thing about the hagrala, it has a pasuk that says that it is ma'akev. It says 2 times about the hagrala, so it is ma'akev. So that's the just one more time, just to try to get the general idea that according to the first lashon, everybody knows that according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's not ma'akev because it's outside. But Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yochanan says even according to Nechemia is kosher over here, because it's not considered an avoda, even though it's in the white clothing, but it's not considered an avoda. The second lashon says according to Nechemia for sure it's ma'akev because it's done in the white clothing, and this machlokes according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yana is machmer and says even according to Rabbi Yehuda it might be that it's ma'akev because it is pasuk specifically says over here 2 times Asher Allah love, so it might be ma'akev even according to Rabbi Yehuda. So that's the machlokes. Now we're on the lookout. But just to get easy, the Gemara is going to try to find proofs that somebody says that it's kosher. If somebody says that it's kosher, that's going to knock out Rabbi Yana in the second lashon. If you look at the chart, Rabbi Yana in the second lashon holds that nobody says that it's kosher. In the first lashon, everybody holds that holds that it's kosher. In the second lashon, Rabbi Yochanan holds that at least Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's kosher. But Rabbi Yana says that nobody holds that it's kosher. If we find the Tana that says that if you didn't do the gorel, it's kosher, so then that's attacking Rabbi Yana in the second version. And that's what the Gemara is going to be doing. It's going to bring proof after proof that someplace it says that Hagrala is not essential. So that knocks out Rabbi Yanai. And Rabbi Yanai is going to answer it each time. But that's going to be the format of what the Gemara is going to do. If it's a brayso that says someplace that Hagrala is not essential, it's going to be attacks Rabbi Yanai in the second version, because he holds there is no such Tana. Rabbi Nechemia surely not, and even Rabbi Yehuda not. That's going to be the format of the Gemara. So the Gemara, one line up for the bottom, Meisvei. Akasha from a brayso, mitzvah lahagril, v'im lahigul kosher. There it is. It says l'chatchili is supposed to do agrila, but if you didn't, it's still kosher. So here you have it. Rabbi Yanai, the second lashon is on the defense now, because he says that nobody holds, not Rabbi Nechemia, not even Rabbi Yehuda. So here the brayso says somebody says that it's kosher. Bishlam balach lishna da'am b'taliv Rabbi Yehuda kol yamalo pligi v'lo ma'akva amani Rabbi Yehuda. According to the first version, that everyone agrees according to Rabbi Yehuda it's kosher, so no problem. This brayso is Rabbi Yehuda. Somebody, even Rabbi Nechemia in the first version holds that according to Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Yehuda is kosher, so that wouldn't be a problem. The brayso is, the author of the brayso is Rabbi Yehuda. Ella lahach lishna da'amrit pligi, but according to the second version that says that Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan are arguing according to Rabbi Yehuda, and says that the machlokes is according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yochanan, that says that Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's kosher. So fine, this brayso is Rabbi Yehuda. Again, we have somebody, but Elamadama Makva, that's Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, also it's market. Hamani, who's the author of this brayso? So again, in short, the kasha is Rabbi Yanai in the second version says there's no such mandiyama that says that the agrala is not essential. Even Rabbi Yehuda, that usually holds things in the white clothing and outside, is not essential. Here it is essential because it says Ash'ala 2 times. And this brayso says there is a mandiyama. It doesn't say an author, but it's somebody. And you say there's nobody, not Rabbi Nechemia, not Rabbi Yehuda. Everybody holds that agrala is makif. So that's the kasha on Rabbi Yanai in the second version. So on the third line, Tani mitzvah laniach. So even though it says in the words mitzvah lahagril, the imlo higul kasher, that's what the brayso said, mitzvah lahagril, the imlo higul kasher, but it doesn't mean that. The more the says the more doesn't have to change the words, but it means to make agril and to place it on the animal. That's the issue that it means to talk about. It's a mitzvah to make agril and to place it on the animal. If you didn't place it on the animal, it's kosher. So that we started off in the beginning, that everybody holds that if you didn't place it on the animal, it's not makif. So that's what the brayso means. Rabbi Yanai is going to stick to his opinion that everybody holds. If you didn't do the agrala, it's essential, and it's makif, it's possible. You didn't do it, but the brayso just means to say if you didn't place it on the animal, that's not makif. So he got out of it. There was another proof. Tashma mitzvah lahagril ulisvados. Ilachatchili is supposed to make a gorel on the boat of the goats, and then lisvados means to say vido. You say vido on the sarah mishtalech, the one that's going to be sent out. So chatu ovu pashu amchol beis Yisrael, and that's the vido which is done on the goat. The sarah mishtalech before they send it out. The Kohen Gadol does vidui on the goat. So it says lachatchili is supposed to do that, make a gorel, and then eventually also to do vidui. But here it says lo higru v'lo esvada kosher. If you didn't do the gorel, and also you didn't even do the vidui, you didn't make a gorel, so he just announced it, declared it to be a Sor Lazazel, and you didn't even do the vidui. Also it's kosher. So the vidui issue is not our subject right now. We're just interested in the hagrola. So the brayso says more or less the same as the first brayso, mitzvah lahagril, but it says lo higril is kosher. So again, the same kasha over again. That Rabbi Yanai says in the second version there is no such man diyamar, and here you see there's such a man diyamar. It says here that lo higril is kosher. So you might want to say the same answer again. Answer the same kasha. Say, well, we said we got out of it. We wiggled out of it the first time. We can do the same thing again. That even though it says lo higril, that doesn't mean you didn't make hagrola. Sure, you have to make hagrola, but if you didn't place it on the animal, that's not market. So let's say the same thing over again. But here the Gemara says no. Here the Gemara is ready for that. But the Gemara says this brayso is you can't say that. Amos Sefer, continue on the brayso. This brayso it spoke about hagrola and the vidui, and it said both of them are not ma'akev. What does the brayso continue? Rabbi Shimon Omer lo higril kosher. Lo is vada pasum. The words seem to say that I agree to you in half, but on the other half I don't agree. Lo higril, you said it's kosher, I agree. But lo is vada, you say it's kosher? No. Lo is vada pasum. If you didn't do the vidui on the Sar Mishtalech, that is essential, and the Gemara is going to elaborate about that soon, about the machlokas about vidui. But Rabbi Shimon holds that the vidui is makif. But it does seem to say that he agrees to the Tanakama that lo higril is kosher. Now, what does that mean? You want to say, defendant, Rabbi Yanai, he had to say that when it says lo higril is kosher, it means that he didn't put it on the animal as kosher. You do have to do that gorela, but if he didn't put it on the animal, that's what's kosher. But are you going to? And here it says Rabbi Shimon seems to agree to that. But that would imply that Rabbi Shimon would hold that if you did not do that gorela at all, it is makif. If you're translating the word lo higril, just means lo hiniach, that you didn't place it on the animal. That's what's kosher. But that would imply that if you didn't do that gorela at all, it is possible, which is what Rabbi Yanai is pushing for. That's what Rabbi Yanai says. Rabbi Yanai says that everybody holds that if you didn't do that Agrola, it's possible. But the Gemara is going to show Reb Shimon for sure. Even Abrani, everybody has to agree. A new sheet is coming on the horizon now that Reb Shimon says if you didn't do that Agrola, it is kosher. And the Gemara is going to prove a favor, like beyond the doubt that Reb Shimon does hold. So we have to edit Rabbi Yanai, even though we said the whole time, Rabbi Yanai says there is no such man Yamar. He does not between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemiah. But like we said, until now we spoke about Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemiah. But there is a Reb Shimon out there that holds that Agrola is not makir. And that's what the Gemara is asking, that here Tanna Kama and Rabbi Shimon seem to be on agreement as far as Agrola. Tanna Kama says lo higul kosher, Rabbi Shimon says lo higul kosher. And let's argue about the vidur. But lo higul kosher in Rabbi Shimon, we're going to prove means for sure that he didn't do the Agrola at all. Still it's kosher. And then it means like Tanna Kama seems to agree to him that lo higul is kosher. So now Rabbi Yanai is in trouble because there's somebody besides Rabbi Shimon. It must be Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Nechemiah. And it says at least Rabbi Yehuda is going to hold that lo higul is kosher. And you say that no, Rabbi Yehuda also is that lo higul is possible. So that's going to be the kasha now. I hope that is clear. Again, this Bryce said that mitzvah lahagril el lesvados, but if you didn't do the agrola or the vida, it's kosher. Rabbi Shimon says, I agree to you, lo higul is kosher, but lo esvada is possible. Vida is not our issue. But as far as agrola, we can prove now that Rabbi Shimon surely himself holds that even if you didn't do the agrola at all, it's kosher, and he seems to agree to the Tanna Kama. So even though there's no issue, Rabbi Shimon surely holds that lo higul is kosher. Even Rabbi Yanai doesn't talk about Rabbi Shimon. That's beyond the doubt. Rabbi Shimon holds that lo higul is kosher, but the Tanna Kama seems to agree to that. Rabbi Shimon says, as far as this, I'm in agreement. Because if you're going to say that lo hiniach, if you're going to say that the words my lo higul, what does Rabbi Shimon mean when he says lo higul is kosher? He just means to say that if you didn't place it on the animal is kosher. Is that going to imply that if you didn't do the agrola at all, it's possible? Do you want to say that Shimon also holds that if you didn't do the agrola at all, it's essential and it's makir? That I'll show you cannot be. But Tanya, maybe here's a case. We'll have these cases later on in the Masechta. What if you did agrola? The Kohen Gadol did agrola. He made one to be Lashem, one to be Lazazel. Everything's going well, and then one of the goats died. So, all the excitement over there. He doesn't. The goat over there doesn't. He has a heart attack. The goat dies. So you only have one. You have one left, and one of them has already been designated what it's supposed to be, either Lashem or Lazazel, and now it doesn't have a partner. So how do you get a partner? So over there, those who hold you need agrola, you have to bring another two in order to make agrola. If you're just going to take another one, let's say the one that's Lazazel died. So you're going to take another one and say this is Lazazel. You didn't do agrola. You didn't designate it through agrola. So in order to make agrola, you have to bring two more. And say again, agrola, Lashem, Lazazel. You can have extra one then. There's a problem. But then you can have extra one. Let's say you're missing the Lazazel. So you're going to take another two and say Lashem and Lazazel. And then you still have one Lashem. So that's a problem. That's what we're going to deal with later on in the Masechta, that you can have an extra one. But Reb Shimon says no problem. Bring the second one. Bring a partner without making agrola. The one Lazazel died, so bring another goat and say Hareza Lazazel without any kind of agrola. So that's Beferish. Reb Shimon says that you could create a goat, either Lazazel or Lashem, whatever you need, without doing agrola. So that's like a given that Reb Shimon says beferish that agrola is not makir. So back to this brisa, Tanna Kama said agrola is not makir. Reb Shimon says agrola is not makir. When Reb Shimon says agrola is not makir, it surely means that the whole agrola is not makir, not only placing it on the animal. The whole agrola is not makir. So when the Tanna Kama was in agreement, like he said, as far as that, he said the same exact words. Tanna Kama said agrola lo higul kosher. Reb Shimon says lo higul kosher. When Reb Shimon says lo higul kosher, he surely means he didn't do agrola at all. So the Tanna Kama seems to say the same thing. So Rabbi Yana, you say that there is no Tana besides Reb Shimon that says that lo higul is kosher. But here the brisa seems not like that, because Reb Shimon says lo higul is kosher. He means he didn't do agrola at all. And Tanna Kama said the same words. Doesn't he mean that lo higul is kosher also? The one answers, Reb Shimon lo yada my kami rabbanan. Reb Shimon himself wasn't sure what the rabbanan meant to say. They said lo higul is kosher. It can be translated two ways. Either it means he didn't do it agrola at all, or it means that you didn't put it on the animal. So he says, I'm not sure what you mean. So should I argue with you on that? I'm not sure what I should say. So if you, I don't know what you mean to say. If you say lo higul is kosher, mamash, like I'm saying, so then I don't argue with that. I'm only going to argue about the vido. You say lo esvada is kosher. I say no. That you have to be misvada. But if you would mean to say on the word lo higul, only if you didn't put the animal, that the agrola is makir. Just if you didn't put it on to the animal, it's not makir, but you would hold that the agrola is makir. I'd argue on that also. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because I don't know what you mean to say. That's why he only argued the farish on the lowest father. But he didn't argue because he didn't know what they meant to say. So the Gemara still defending Rabbi Yanai by saying that the one who says, besides Rabbi Shimon, anybody that says lo higul is kosher, that means to say that you didn't put it on the animal, but the actual agrala would be makir. Just see that inside. Rabbi Shimon did not himself know what the Rabbanan meant to say. This is what he meant to tell them. Agrala mamish. If when you say the agrala is not makir, you mean the actual agrala. You didn't do agrala at all, and it's not makir. So then I agree with you on that. You mean to say that agrala, you didn't do agrala at all, and it's not makir, lo higul kosher. So then then I'm only going to argue with you with one issue about the second issue that you said that Lois Vada is kosher. That I say no, Lois Vada is kosher. You have to do the vidui. That I only argue with you on one issue. That's why he said those words. But the Karmisu Hainu Anacha. But if all you meant to say was that placing it on the animal is not makib, because you hold that if you didn't do that growel at all, then it is makib, then I'd argue on that also. Then I would argue on both counts. But he didn't want to make a big deal out of that because it wasn't sure himself what the Rabbanan mean to say. But Rabbi Yanai will say that the truth is that according to Rabbanan, they would hold that the Hagrol itself is Ma'akev, and Rabbi Shimon would have argued on that also, because he holds that Hagrol is not Ma'akev. And all the Rabbanan meant to say was that Lo Hiniach, if he didn't put it on the animal, it's not Ma'akev. So we got through this second raya. We had two rayas, both of them were the same raya, more or less. Second one is a bit stronger, but the Gemara got out of that also. And both places it said that Lo Higriel is kosher. And Rabbi is on the defense because in the second version he said that there's nobody, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Chemi, both of them hold that it's not kosher. And both of them he got out of by saying all it means to say is lo hiniach. It just means to say that he didn't place it on the animal. But if it would not have been a grol at all, it would have been possible. The Gemara, Agav, we did find now in our search, we did come up with Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon is new on the Amar on the horizon now, that everyone holds. He says beferish that a grol is not ma'akiv, and the proof is because he says that if one of them dies, just bring another one and declare it verbally without making a grol. So he does hold. Even Rabbi Yanai will agree that Rabbi Shimon does hold that grol is not makir, but as far as Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Chemi, he also hold that it's makir. We had two kashas. We answered both kashas with the same teretz. All it means to say is lo hiniach is kosher. But if he didn't make a grol at all, Rabbi Yanai will say that even Rabbi Yehuda it's possible. There's a big gear change over here. This aleph over here tells us what Rashi does. Rashi is going to make a how do you cut it? Cut and paste. The bottom line, if you jump to the bottom line, so Rashi cuts and pastes this whole Gemara coming up. It's about 10 lines or so, and he says that it belongs right here. We'll do it Rashi's way just to make it simpler. And if it's possible, everybody, to jump to the bottom line, and we're going to continue a tangent. This means Rashi learns that this Gemara coming up is going to be a tangent about what we just spoke about, if the video is makav or not. It means it's not our real subject. Today's title is the Agrala Makiv. The whole subject today, from beginning to end, is if the Gorel is essential or not. And that's what we spoke about. The Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yochanan, all this is the subject of the Gorel. Agav, because of the second proof over here, that says something about Rabbi Shimon with the Vidui. This is machlokes if the Vidui on the Sarah Mishlech is ma'akiv or not. So the Gemara goes on the tangent now, and therefore Rashi doesn't like that. Rashi says that the way it's printed, the way it's on the Gemara, it comes up after the next sugya, and then you go back to talk about the tangent of before, and then the Gemara continues again. So Rashi says you have to cut and paste that this next sugya is all going to be relocated now. So these words belong with us now. Azdu l'tamaya. The machlokes, if the vidui, so now we're going on a tangent now, not our subject. We're going on a cruise now off the side. And the issue is if the vidui and the Sarah Mishlech is market. If you have a Sarah Mishlech, you made Agrala, you made 2 goats, 1 Lashem, 1 Azazel, but you didn't do the vidui. You didn't say a vidui on the Sarah Mishlech. Is it market or not?
Can you once again tell us exactly where to cut from where to where?
So the aleph of the aleph right here, we're going to make an insert where the aleph is. We're making an insert. The insert starts in the bottom line, and I'll highlight where it's going to go till. Azul Tamaya the Tanya, and then on the next page, all this is going to be highlighted now. They're doing too much for me. 1 second. I can't control this thing. Let's see. It's going to be here. Okay, we'll put the Rashi also if he wants. Okay. All this. Kiritanya. And this one. All that. That's it. So what is that? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines and 2 words, plus the 3 words on the page before. All that Rashi is gonna relocate to where the Aleph is over here, and it's all a tangent. And we're going off on a tangent. We're talking about Vida. So forget about it. Don't forget. But put in the freezer everything we're talking about if the Agrol is market or not. Now we're talking about a side issue. If you didn't do Vida on the Sarah Mishnalech. So this just to put it into our Avodah of Musaf that we used to Kohanim Va'am. So the first time was the Kohen Gadol. He says about on the par on his bull. He says Chatasi visi pashati ani obesi, and then he does the second time Chatasi visi pashati ani obesi b'nei aronam kedoshecha. That was also both of them on the bull, both vidas on the same bull. And then the third one is on the Sarah Mishnalech, and the Chatu Avu Pasha Abcha Beis Yisrael and Ana Hashem Kaperna. And this is on the Sarah Mishnalech. So is that ma'akev or not? If he didn't do vidui on the Sarah Mishnalech, is it ma'akev? So we had machlokas before on top of the page. Rabbi Yehuda says, Tanna Kama said that it's not ma'akev, like it said, lo is vada kosher. That's like on the 6th line from the top, 5th line, lo is vada kosher. And then Rabbi Shimon says a couple lines after that, lo is vada pasuk. And the Gemara says now, that we find them arguing someplace else also if the vidui on the Sarah Mishnalech is ma'akev or not. The Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. This is talking about the Sarah Mishnalech. It says that V'hasair Asher Allah Allah V'hagorol Azazel Yom Atchai Lefnei Hashem L'chaper Allah. The Shalach Sarah Midbar, something like that. That the Sarah Hashem you slaughter and you bring that the blood into the Kodesh HaKodashim, and the other one you leave alone. You leave alive. L'chaper Allah. What is l'chaper? So it's to stand alive. And what if it dies? At what point that it dies is it not essential? So how long does it have to be live in order to be kosher? He says the word l'chaper alav doesn't mean vidui. The word l'chaper, the Sarah Mishnalech, there's no sprinkling of the blood. The Sarah Mishnalech, you throw it off the cliff. There's no sprinkling of the blood. So l'chaper alav is we said once upon a time that it means the vidui, and that's going to be Rav Shimon coming up. But Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't mean vidui. It means the blood. Which blood? The blood of the partner. It means there are two goats. One is Lashem, and that's you slaughter and you bring the blood into the Kodesh HaKodashim, and the Sarah Lazazel, you take it and you throw it off the cliff. So here it says that the Sarah Lazazel should remain alive, l'chaper alav, and that Yehuda says means the blood. Which blood? The blood of the partner. That as long as the Sarah Lazazel was alive, until you sprinkle the blood of the other goat, of the goat that goes into the Kodesh HaKodashim, the blood goes into the Kodesh, that's good enough. So he didn't do Vidui yet. The Vidui on the Sarah Mishlech is after the whole story. After everything, that's when you do the Vidui on the Sarah Mishlech. And here it says, as long as it was alive, until you did the sprinkling of the blood of the partner, it's good enough. So Yehuda holds that the vidui is not ma'akev. That's what I said before. Lois vada kosher. That even though this is Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei, he also that he holds even though he didn't do vidui on the Sarah Mishnalech, it's kosher. But Rabbi Shimon says no. Rabbi Shimon was the one who said before that the vidui is ma'akev. Lois vada pasuk. Yeah, until you do vidui on the Sarah Mishnalech, it's ma'akev. So you have to the goat, what they call the scapegoat. The Sarah Mishnalech has to be alive until you do vidui on it. It is true. Everyone agrees that if it died then, we would have thought that it doesn't work until you off the cliff. That's not true. Once you did vidui, if it died then, it's okay. But it has to at least be alive until you said vidui. So here, Shimon says vidui is ma'akev. So we found it. Azul Tamayu, what they want to say that they're going to shitasam. We find the machlokas here. Here we have that Rabbi Yehuda holds that the vidui is not ma'akev on the Sarah Mishnah. Shimon says that it is. But Ma'akev Mifligi, what's the machlokas between what's the source of the machlokas? What the word l'chaper olav means, which was what we saw on the top line. What does the word l'chaper olav? L'chaper. What does the word l'chaper mean? L'chaper is dam ukasam medaber. It means the sprinkling of the blood. As you point, the word l'chaper sometimes means that. Over there, it's talking about the sprinkling that he did in the blood of the Kodesh HaKodashim. Over there was no vidui. There was a sprinkling of the blood. So you see, kaper means the sprinkling of the blood. So too here, ma'alam kapar's damim, avkan kapar's damim. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the word l'chaper means sprinkling of the blood. On the Sarah Mishlech, there is no sprinkling of the blood, so it means of its partner. As long as the Sarah Mishlech was alive, till you did the sprinkling of the blood of the partner, the Sarah Hashem is good enough. But the Shimon Omer l'chaper alav, l'chaper is b'makosim medaber. That the word l'chaper alav means the vidui, so it has to be alive until he does vidui. So that was the insert. That was the tangent we talk about if the vidui is ma'akev or not. And l'chlokas Rabbi Yehuda of Shimon happens to be halacha. This is a machlokas aposkim. What you paskin like? The Chafetz Chaim brings down the Kutei Halacha is machlokas. If you pass like Rabbi Yehuda of Shimon at this point, if the vidui and the Sarah Mishnalech is ma'akev, just to remember that everybody holds that you don't have to throw it off the cliff. you should, but if it died or something and you didn't, but the evet, it's kosher as long as you did the vidui, and some hold even if you didn't do the vidui, as long as you did the sprinkling of the blood of the Sarul Hashem, then even if the Sarul Zaza would have died, it's also okay. Okay, so that all was a tangent. We go back to where we're holding. We're holding in the middle of the sugya by the aleph over there, about halfway through the page. And the issue is in the middle still, if the hagrala is ma'akev. And what we have that chart before, just to recall again. This was machlokas over here, that in the first version, Rabbi holds that a sholi kosher if you didn't do the hagrala, and machlokas Rabbi Yochanan according to Nechemia. In the second version, according to Nechemia, sholi it's ma'akev if you didn't do the hagrala. And machlokas was according to Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan says even according to Yehuda it's not good. And again, we're going to be attacking him still. We're still attacking Rabbi Yochanan. We had 2 attacks on him that it says lo higul is kosher. Each time he got out of it by saying that it means that he did not put it on the animal. That's not makiv. But if he didn't do the hagrala at all, it is makiv. We also found Reb Shimon, a third Tana, that surely holds that hagrala is not makiv. Everybody agrees according to Reb Shimon, but we're talking about Reb Yehuda and Reb Nechemia. So the Gemara continues. Tashma. Par ma'akiv esasoyer, v'sor ein ma'akiv esapar, v'matana shebefnim. So not a different chart over here, just to get another chart. Hope that it'll be helpful. This is a list of the order. This is other chart over there. That a list of the order of things that are supposed to be done on the Seder of Yom Kippur. It doesn't have everything. It's not an exhaustive list, and some things in between us, missing some things in between. But it's not our subject so much. I could have even left out some more over here, but I just wrote what Rashi writes. So and there's it's not so clear the color code over here, but there's some sort of a brown and then a purple. Just to point out which is the bull and which is the goats. So on the number 1 is that there's a vidui. The Kohen God does the vidui on the par, which we had already. That was chatasi visi pashanti ani obesi. And then after that he does a hagrala on the goats. He goes back to the east of the Azara and he throws the lots on the 2 goats. And then he goes back to the same par and he does a second time vidui. He does over there Obnei Aaron Am Kedoshecha and what we say in the davening. And that was 2 vidui on the par. And then after that. Then he brings the blood of the par. He slaughters the bull, and he brings the blood into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. I'm not saying everything in between, but that's the way Rashi puts it. Rashi even says right over here, between here, there's also bringing the Ktoris, but that's not get to us right now. And then the blood of the goat which was a Sarul Hashem, after he made a hagrala, so one of them is a Sarul Hashem. That goat is slaughtered, and the blood is also brought into Kodesh HaKadoshim. Like it says, Achas Lamala, Sheva Lamata. First he does the blood of the bull, then there's the blood of the goat in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then he does the blood of the bull in the Heichal. He's on a paroch, ala parochas, v'lefnei parochas, and that's in the Heichal, in the Kodesh, in the sanctuary, not in the Holy of Holies, in the Holy. And then he does the blood of the goat in the Heichal also. So how did it go? The blood of the bull, the blood of the goat in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then the blood of the bull and the blood of the goat in the Kodesh, in the sanctuary, in the Heichal, outside the curtain. And then afterwards, number 8, he takes both bloods, he mixes them, the blood of the goat and the bull and the goat, and then he puts it onto the Mizbeach Hazav. That's also in the Heichal. That's on the golden altar, which is inside, and we'll see that eventually. Also, all the details about that. Okay, that's the order of the things that are supposed to be done. Here, the Brisa says that if you did it out of order, what if you did it out of order? So it says if you did the bull in the case where the bull was supposed to be before the goat, and you did it out of order, it's essential. But if you did the goat before the bull, a case where the goat was supposed to be before the bull, and you did it out of order, it's not essential. That's the words of the Brisa. And it says something inside. Inside, the Gemara is going to come out that it means the Kodesh HaKadoshim only. It seems the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So the order that the bull is supposed to be before the goat is essential. The order that the goat is supposed to be before the bull is not essential. So the Gemara continues. That was just a preview. Now the Gemara says, Toshma, Par Makiv Esasoyer, the bull, the things that are supposed to be done to the bull hold back, are essential to the goat. That means that the words mean that the order is Makiv, and if the bull is supposed to be before the goat, it's Makiv. If he didn't do it, then it's not good. So any Makiv Esapar, the goat that's supposed to be before the bull, even if it's supposed to be Lachatchila before the bull, but it's not Makiv. All this is talking about the placing of the blood that's inside. Inside, it seems to be the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Maybe it means the Heichal also, but let's get with Rashi that it means the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So that's what it says. And what the Gemara is going to try, the aim of the Gemara is going to go back to the Gorel. We're going to try to find the Gorel over here. The Gorel is done on the goats. There's something about the goats before the And the Gemara is going to say like this, just a little on the chart, maybe makes it easier. The Gemara is going to say, well, what do you mean to say that the case where the bull is supposed to be before the goat and it's essential? So that's really easy. That means number 4 is supposed to be before number 5. The blood of the bull in the Kodesh HaKodashim is supposed to be before the blood of the goat in the Kodesh HaKodashim. And if you did it in the wrong order, you did 5 before 4, so it's no good. It's essential. But what the Gemara is going to look for, what's the thing that the goat l'chatchila should have been before the bull, and it's not essential. That's what the Gemara is going to look at for. So again, inside. Bishloma Paramakiv Asasor. What's the case that the Brisa means that the bull has to be before the goat and it's essential? If you preceded the goat before the bull in the Kodesh HaKodashim, so it's no good because the bull has to be before the goat. What is the case that the goat should have been before the bull and he didn't do it and it's not makiv? You might say that you did the wrong order. You did number 6 before number 5. Number 5 is the blood of the goat in the Kodesh HaKodashim, and number 6 is the blood of the bull in the Heichal. You should have done it in that order. But maybe if you change the order, maybe you say that it's not makiv. You should have done it this way, 5 before 6, but if you did 6 before 5, it's not makiv. But the Gemara says it can't. There might be a little bit of difficulty over here, but that's what the Gemara seems to say, that if you would have interrupted the goat and you didn't do it right after the bull, you did something in between, you did number 6 before number 5, that would be essential. You can't say that that's not essential because it's in the Kodesh HaKodashim and you messed up the order over there, so it's invalid. So the Brisa couldn't have meant that. So where do we find that the goat should have been before the bull and it's not essential? And the Gemara is going to try to say it must mean number 2. Number 2 is the agwala on the goats, and it's supposed to be before the blood of the bull. And if he didn't do it, it's kosher. Even if he didn't do the agwala on the goat yet, it's kosher. See that inside again. Ella lav daktim atanas depar bifnim mikami agwala. That's what the Gemara wants to. That's what the Gemara is driving at. It must be that the agrola, which was number 2, and it should have been before. You should have done the lots on the goats before you did the blood of the bull in the Kodesh HaKodashim. And if you didn't do it, it's kosher. It says here that the order is not essential, but the Gemara thinks if the order is not essential, then the whole thing is not essential. The Gemara is going to back out of this soon. But as the Kasha, the Gemara says, with the Sidra Makva, Ikra Agwala Nami Makva. If the order is not makiv, the Gemara thinks that if so then the whole thing is not makiv either. And back to the subject, Rabbi Yanai says that there's nobody. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemi, both of them hold that the Agwala is essential. And here it says that the order of the Agwala is not essential. And the Gemara is suggesting if the order is not essential, so the whole thing is not essential. So it's a kasha again on Rabbi Yanai, who says that both according to Rabbi Nechemi and according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Agwala is essential. Here it seems to say the Agwala is not essential. So the next couple of lines, the Gemara takes out. And if it's okay with everybody, I would also take that girsa, if it's okay. It makes it a little bit easier. So these 4 lines, if we could take it out. And we just continue. And the answer is, so Rabbi Yanai says no problem. We found Rabbi Shimon already. What did you find in this brisa? That is a Tana that says that Agwala is not essential. I did say according to Rabbi Yehuda of Nechemi it's market, but I also agree according to Rabbi Shimon it's not. We found him in the beginning of the brisa. We found that today that he says if one of them dies, just bring another one and say I raise Azazel, I raise. So I agree that there's such a Rabbi Shimon. I'm just talking about Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. So this is not a kasha on me. If you find the brisa that says that the Gwala is not market, it's Rabbi Shimon. Hamani Rabbi Shimon, Dama Gwala Makva. That's one terrace number 1. Terrace number 2, Iboy Sem, Alolam Rabbi Yehudi, Olida Basidra Makva, Gwala Mia Makva. This is the simple terrace also everybody's probably thinking of. All the brisa said is that the order is not essential, but you have to do it. So back to the brisa, even though we're going to say the brisa taka means that if you did number 2 out of order, that you did number 4 before number 2, so it's not essential. It means it's still kosher, but you still have to do the Hagrola. So do it after number 4. You did 1, 3, 4. So now do number 2. But if you didn't do it at all, if you didn't do the Hagrola, I'll say that it is market. So those are 2 tirutzim. So what happened again? The Gemara is attacking Rabbi Yanai the whole time. And he's the one who said that both according to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, if you didn't do the Hagrola, it's essential. We found 3 kashas. All of them say that Hagrola is not market. So the first 2, we answered that it means that the Hanoch is not Ma'akiv. It just means placing it on the album is not Ma'akiv, but the actual Agwala is Ma'akiv. The third kasha was, after we finished understanding it, it said that the order is not Ma'akiv. So either one, the answer would be as Rav Shimon. That we hold it, there's a Rav Shimon that says that it's not Ma'akiv. And or you could say the order says here is that the order is not Ma'akiv. It doesn't say that the Agwala is not Ma'akiv. So Biana still is holding his position that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you didn't do the Agwala, it would be essential and it's possible. Now we could skip because we did all this already, and we go on to Amud Beis and Tashma. So again, we're Rashi had to take all this out because to bring it in now was very out of place. To talk about the Vidoy, this is like out of order. So Rashi says you should cut and paste, put it back before. So the Gemara continues now, Tashma. So about 10 lines down, and the Gemara is in the subject still, if the Agwala is Ma'akiv or not. Tashma, Shalom Tmidas Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva's students asked him, Allah B'Smol, Ma Sheach Zalimin. He did Agwala, and it came out Lashem on the left hand, which they're not happy about. Everyone wants that to come out on the right hand. It's a better simon. So is he allowed to change it over? Can he change it over? So it seems like he's ignoring the goal. He made a goal. He doesn't like what it came up. So he just puts it into his other hand. He's allowed to do that. It's censorship. It should be meaning. It means the Christians. Don't give room for the Christians. Leodos. Rashi says Leodos means to limshol. The word Leodos means to rule. Don't give them power to rule over us. So Rashi says that they're going to say we're doing what we want. The pasuk says you're supposed to make a goal, and now we're doing it. We're doing what we want. So even if it's true that it will be kosher, but don't give them opportunity to talk about us. So it sounds like it's kosher. Rabbi Akiva said it wouldn't be kosher to do that, but don't do it because it doesn't look good for the public opinion or the people that are Rishonim and they want to find bad things about us. But that's the end of the brisa. And the Gemara now is analyzing the brisa. He says that it's really kosher. It means really you'd be allowed to make Agwala and you could ignore Agwala and do what you want. Time of the Altitum welcome the meaning Lerdos. Allah Vachim Adrinale. It's only because it doesn't look good. Otherwise we would be able to do it. But Amrit Agwala Makva. The Chivin is small. The Gemara thinks that it's dependent on this question. If the Agwala is essential, that means that it really takes effect. Or you could say that you have to do Agwala. You can't just decide you want to do it differently. Agwala, you must do Agwala. It seems that it wouldn't bother the Gemara that if Agwala is not Ma'akiv, if Agwala is not essential, even though you did Agwala, we'll say also it didn't take effect. We're not so impressed with Agwala if it's not Ma'akiv. Someone might have argued and said that even if it's not Ma'akiv, you don't have to do it, but if you did it, so it took effect already. But that the Gemara is not bothered by. Some of the Mefarshim talk about this, but we'll take that. That's possible. But if you say Agwala is Ma'akiv, means you must do Agwala. You didn't do Agwala over here. You just did what you want. So isn't that a kasha? This brisa seems again to say Agwala is not Ma'akiv. Again, we're attacking Rabbi Yana in the second version. Rabbi Yana in the second version says that there is nobody that says that Agwala is not Ma'akiv. Here it says Agwala is not Ma'akiv. The Gemara could have said it's Rav Shimon. Again, the Gemara could have answered Rav Shimon. We found whenever you attack Rabbi Yana, you could always take Rav Shimon and say Rav Shimon is not Ma'akiv. But the Gemara wants to say different. He says doesn't mean to say that. You're right. That if you made Agwala, it takes effect and it's Ma'akiv, and there's no way to change it back. But all it means to say is, Allah girl b'smol ma'ashi achziru lo l'siru limin. They never meant to ask, could you ignore the goal and even though it came out on the left, change your hands and put it onto the right one? No, it doesn't mean that. For sure, the one that came on the left, that goat is going to be the Saril Hashem. But could you just change the position of the goat, move the goat to the right side, just for aesthetic reasons, then it should look nice? It's true. When you did that goat that came out on the left, and that's the one that's the Hashem. But you'd like it to be on the right, so just for aesthetic reasons, leave it, move the goat to be onto the right of the Kohen Gadol. That was the whole question. And that he said you're allowed to, but don't do it. It doesn't look nice. But he never meant to say that the goal doesn't take effect. So Grana is back on the stage again. He doesn't have a problem. Of course, the goal takes effect. It's Ma'akev, and it takes effect, and you can't ignore it, and you have to do it. All it means to say was if you want to just change the goat, to move the goat to the right side of the Kohen Gadol, letter says don't do it because it doesn't look nice. If you did, it's solely kosher. But again, Rabbi Yana was able to defend himself that the goal is Ma'akev. Tashma.
Excuse me, what does this have to do with the Christians? That they would do things that don't look nice? Or what does it mean? They would go ahead and move it?
It was that we do against the Torah.
What?
They would complain that the Jews do against the Torah. The Torah says openly do a goal, and they're doing what they want.
Oh.
Rashi says here, the Christians are going to say that the Jews do whatever they want. They don't. The rabbis decide what they want to do, and they don't care what the Torah says. The Gemara continues. Tashma. it could be that's a lesson for us also, that we shouldn't do things that even if it's technically good, but if it doesn't look good, you're supposed to. Sometimes it's for other Jews. Sometimes it's not for the Jews. It's for outsiders. Don't do things that might cause people to say it's a chil Hashem of some sort. Toshma, ilu nemar es hasair asher alav. Es hasair asher alav. That's not really the pasuk. The pasuk doesn't say it. The pasuk says es hasair asher Allah alav. There's a word missing, and that's what the Gemara wants. The Gemara says if it wouldn't have said it the way it says, if it would have said the goat that on it, but it wouldn't say that it came up upon it. If it would be missing a word, if it wouldn't have said Allah, es hasair asher Allah Allah. If it wouldn't have said asher Allah Allah, it would have said asher Allah. Then Aisi Yomer Yenichenu Allah. Then I would have said that the goral is supposed to be on the animal. Talmud Omer Allah. That's why it does say Allah. Asher Allah Allah. Once you made Dagrola, Allah, the Aliyah doesn't mean putting it on. The Aliyah means that you drew the lots. So once you drew the lots, you don't have to do more than that. That's what the pasuk, the Brisa literally would seem to say that you might have thought if it would say Asher Allah, you have to put it on the animal actually. So it says no, Asher Allah, that once you made Dagrola means you picked it up out of the box and you that designated it, even though you didn't put it on it. That's what the Brisa would seem to say, that you don't have to put the goral on the animal. But the Gemara says it can't be, because surely lachatchili you're supposed to. It says, "V'nasan alav, v'nasan iron alav, al-shnei asirim goralos." You're supposed to put it on lachatchili. We just said at the beginning of the day that if you did it, it's not ma'akev, but you're supposed to. That's what the Gemara is talking about. Here, the Brisa seems to say you don't even have to lachatchila to place it on the animal. That's not true. Lamai, what is the Brisa talking about? Mitzvah. It's telling you lachatchila what to do. And what does the Brisa say? That lachatchila make a grala, yeah, but even the chatchil, you don't have to place it on the animal. That wouldn't be true. If the Brisa just means to say that the grala is lachatchila, then it means that hanacha is not even lachatchila. That can't be. The Gemara is really driving at to say that the grala here, it says that grala is ma'akev, because since you know that you're supposed to put lachatchila, so the Brisa when it says you don't have to put it on the animal, it means you don't have to put it on it b'di'evet. That if you did it, it's okay. And therefore, when the Brisa says, but you do have to have Allah, it says you have to have Allah, you don't need that it should be on it. You don't need anacha, but you need Allah. You need a goral, you don't need anacha. So if you're talking about lachatchila, and only the goral is only lachatchila, that would mean that you don't even have to lachatchila put it on the animal. But that can't be true, because lachatchila you do have to put it on the animal. So the Brisa is talking about b'di'evet. And it just says that b'di'evet you don't have to put it on the animal. But the goral itself is even b'di'evet. So that means that the goral is ma'akid. This is the first time we're changing tunes now. Till now, each kasha was always attacking Rabbi Yana in the second lashon, and it said that a goral is not ma'akid. Rabbi Yana said it's not going to point to everybody. Now we're going the other way. Now we're on Rabbi Yana's side. Here, this Brisa seems to say that the goral is ma'akid. If you eat him in the mitzvah, if you're going to say the Brisa only talking about lachatchila, that lachatchila do a goral, michal danacha mitzvah namilo, then you could infer from the Brisa that it's not even lachatchila to put it on the animal, and that's not true. You're supposed to put it on the animal. It must be the Brisa is talking about if it's b'di'evet, and it says that putting it on the animal is not ma'akev b'di'evet, which is true, but it does say then that the agrala itself is ma'akev. Ushma mina agrala makva, anachalo makva. So then we could derive from the Brisa that the agrala is ma'akev. This is the first time the Gemara is siding with Rabbi Yana, that it says here that the agrala is ma'akev. Who's it going to be a kasha on? To go back to the chart. How does it go here? Now we found the Brisa that says the Gemara is ma'akev. So Rabbi Yana is surely good, and even in the in the first version, he's also good because he can say that's Rav Nechemia. But now it's attacking Rabbi Yochanan in the first lashon. Rabbi Yochanan in the second lashon can say it's Rav Nechemia. You found the Brisa that says that a Gemara is ma'akev, but the first version, according to Rabbi Yochanan, everybody holds that it's not ma'akev, and this Brisa says that is ma'akev. So this is the first time we're attacking Rabbi Yochanan in the first version. So he wants to get out of it. The answer is Ilu Namar. It doesn't mean like that. It meant something else. Ilu Namar Asher Allah Hayisi Omar Yinchenu Allah Bachashchita. Tamaloma Asher Allah Chivin Shallah Shubain Etzarech. It's talking about lachatchila. Well, this Brisa says that lachatchila do agrala, but you don't have to leave it on. It only means lachatchila do agrala. We want to support Rabbi Yochanan that agrala is not ma'akev. So fine. So the Brisa says lachatchila do agrala, but it's not ma'akev. But then what's the Brisa mean to say that you don't have to do anach at all? And that was the problem. Of course you're supposed to put anacha. So he says the Brisa means you don't have to continuously leave it on. You might think you're supposed to leave it on the whole time. You might think that you take that gorel, you put it on the animal, you leave it over there. That's what the Brisa means to say, that you don't, once you put it on the animal, you don't have to do more than that. Once you put the gorel on the animal for a second, that's enough, you can take it off already. So we got out of the kasha. The whole kasha was based on saying that hanacha is not necessary. It must mean even b'di'evet. But now we got a pshat in the Brisa that it means lachatchila. You don't have to leave it on the animal at all, even lachatchila. The gorel you do lachatchila, but not b'di'evet. So Rabbi Yochanan got out of the kasha also. So we had a kasha, the first kasha of Rabbi Yochanan, and he got out of it. And he says also that it's only lachatchila, it's not b'di'evet. And now comes the final raya. This is the end of the story now, and this is gonna wrap up the whole thing. Tashma, v'asol chatas. It talks about that they should make a gorel, and Asher Allah HaGorel Hashem, he should make a chatas. HaGorel osei chatas, ve'in Hashem osei chatas. The gorel makes them to be, it means the korban Hashem, one Hashem, one Azazel. The ones that are supposed to be Hashem, the gorel is the one that designates it to be a korban chatas, Hashem, but just Hashem. Shem means just to announce it, to declare it. Arezeh chatas, Hashem chatas. That wouldn't take effect. So this Brisa says beferish that it doesn't take effect only with a gorel. This so far, these words are going to be beferish. That's it. That's the Brisa. The Brisa says that the gorel is makev. It seems to knock off Rabbi Yochanan in the first version. We'll see more. But this Brisa does say there's no way to get out of this. It says beferish that the gorel is makev. Just to announce it, to declare it, doesn't work. Sheyachol, the Brisa continues. Why would I think differently? Sheyachol v'lo dinu. I might have thought that's a kal v'chomer. Uma b'makom shelo kiddush hagorel, kiddush Hashem. Makom shekiddush hagorel, then adin shekaddush Hashem. Another karbonis, Rashi brings all kinds of karbonis. If you'd have kinei zavin v'zavos, other kinds of animals, birds or whatever karbonis, that you have to make a decision which is a chatash, which is an ola. There's no such thing as a gorel. A gorel doesn't do anything. You take two lots and you put it on. You make a gorel between which is ola, which is a chatash. Nothing takes effect. There's no such thing. You have to say, I raise a chatas, I raise a ola. So if you say by a place where gorel does not take effect, but declaration does take effect, so a place here where the Torah says that even a gorel takes effect, so surely you might think that declaration takes effect. So maybe there's such a thing that you could declare it without a gorel. No, Tamad Loma, Vaso Chatas. That's what the pasuk says. Dafka, you have to make it a chatas this way. A gorel as a chatas, vein Hashem was a chatas. So the Brisa says, beferish, the only way to make it a chatas is only by a gorel. And that means that gorel is makev. This whole subject we're talking about is gorel makev or not. So far, if we stop here and look at our chart, so we would say that Reb Yana is fine. Reb Yana says according to everybody's makev, he's very happy. He's smiling in the second version. In the first version, he's going to say that it's from Nehemiah, and it wouldn't be terrible. Everybody, only Rabbi Yochanan in the first version would be knocked off because he says that according to everybody it's kosher. Here, somebody says that it's makev. So that's how we would look at it. But now the Brisa contains one more line, and it says that Abuda is the author of this Brisa, and therefore the second version of Rabbi Yochanan is also, the first version is for surely knocked out because it says Abuda is talking, and the first version says according to Abuda is kosher. Second version says that according to Rabbi Yochanan, Abuda holds that is kosher. We now proved Rabbi Yana in the second version. That's the end of the Gemara. That once one more line, the Gemara is going to say that this Brisa is Abuda talking. We'll see the Brisa. So now it's going to prove that Rabbi Yana in the second Lashon, in the second version, he's the one who's proven right, even though he was the one who was attacked the whole time. He was defending himself. Everything was coming against Rabbi Yana in the first Lashon, about 4 kashas the whole time. And he got out of all of them, and now we prove him. He's the one who's right. And here's the Gemara. And Stam Sifra Mani Yehuda. This is a Sifra. That actually says it's Torah's Kohanim, and the author of Torah's Kohanim, if it doesn't say any name over there, it's Rabbi Yehuda. Stam Sifra, Rabbi Yehuda. And he's Rabbi Yehuda's the author of this Brisa. The Katanya, Gorel Osachatas, Ve'en Hashem Osachatas. It says beferish that the only way you can do is with a Gorel, not just by declaring it. Ama Gorel Ma'akva. You see that Rabbi Yehuda holds that the Gorel is Ma'akiv, Tiyufta, the Mandama Gorel Ma'akva Tiyufta. So this knocks off the Shita that said that the Gorel is not Ma'akiv according to Rabbi Yehuda, which means the first Lashon is off, and Rabbi Yochanan is off for the second Lashon also. Only Rabbi Yana is right. So that's the end of the sugya. And what do we hold? We hold like this. We hold like Rabbi Yehuda according to that Rabbi Yehuda of Nehemiah. According to Rabbi Yana, we've now found out the Brisa of Rabbi Yehuda of Nehemiah surely holds that Hagorel is makev. So there are 2 sugyas we have today. One is the main sugya, one is a tangent. The main sugya is this sugya is if Hagorel is makev or not. So yes, Hagorel is makev. Lachatchila, he's supposed to surely also put it down in the animal also, but that's not makev. But you do have to do Hagorel. If you didn't do Hagorel, then nothing takes effect. We found Rabbi Shimon holds beferish Hagorel is not makev, but we don't pass like that. We pass like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Nechemia that the Goel is Maki. And Naga gave me another sugya about Vidui on the Sar Mishtaleach, and that was Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda Shimon, what the word L'chaper over there means, and that is Machlokes Poskim. If the Sar Mishtaleach was, it made a Gola, but you didn't actually do Vidui on it, as the Gemara said, you just got through the L'chaper of the blood of the partner was brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but the Sar Mishtaleach did not, nothing happened to it. So Rabbi Yehuda would say that it's kosher enough. Rabbi Shimon says no, the Vidui is makif. That's Machlokes Poskim we pass now. Okay, Yashakorach everybody.
Tomorrow night, 9:15.
Tomorrow night, 9:15. Hope everybody enjoyed. It was a more interesting
Thank you very
tomorrow,
much.
couple of days, but I hope that it was clear.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, everybody.
Shabbat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbos.
Just got the last of it. Sorry, that's all I could do.
Record it.
Thank
So if you want to, you could get the recording still.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
Have a great
Okay,
Shabbos, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.